The price of RuleOfRose is tanking right now, and not only can I explain why, but this is just the beginning. You might have seen a short I released fairly recently, where I mentioned that I've been seeing RuleOfRose crop up quite a lot in the wild. The straw that broke the camel's back for me was when my local CEX had 2 copies in at the same time. A member of staff then happened to mention that across the company, trade-ins for it as a whole had started to increase. Now, this is supposed to be a rare game, so with my interest thoroughly piqued, I went off to eBay and found this seller, GamesPark92, an Italian game shop selling the game for 250 quid for the Italian listing and 350 quid for the English listing. So your immediate reaction is, this is a scam, right? Like, no one can be selling RuleOfRose this cheap. But if you look into the seller a bit deeper, you notice they've got a brick and mortar shop, excellent feedback with nearly 3,000 of it to boot, and any copy of RuleOfRose that has already sold has excellent feedback, some of which include promising looking photos. Going back to the images in the listing, you'll notice that they have this SIAE sticker on them. Now the SIAE are Italy's copyright agency, and any piece of media released in the region needs that sticker to prove its authenticity. Alright, this is starting to look legit. My last piece of evidence comes from the English language listing itself, where it states, the game is new, sealed, no reproduction, coming directly from original supplier. Sweet, so I bought one. When it arrives, I'll hang about, roll it back, straight from original supplier. Well, how many of these have they already sold? Oh my god, over 300 across both listings. Hi guys, Editing Room Game Gaijin here. So, the eagle-eyed among you will notice that the 2 values on screen actually add up to more than 400. This is something that has changed since I recorded this. And yeah, I don't want to say my short had anything to do with it, but it's definitely had a lot more eyes on it since I put that out, which is interesting. Anyway, back to past me being shocked at the wrong number. That is mental. This is supposed to be an incredibly rare game, and they have sold over 300 sealed, with more to go. Have they found a warehouse full of RuleOfRose? What is going on? Time for some more investigation. If you go to the PS2 section in GamesPark's eBay shop, you notice they have a lot of sealed 505 games, all with the same from the original supplier description. The evidence is really starting to make it look like this shop is sitting on an absolute goldmine of what are considered to be rare games. So say these are real, what's that going to do to the value of the game? Well, before we speculate on that, we should probably look at why it's expensive in the first place, particularly the PAL UK version. Point 1. Release timing. RuleOfRose was a fairly late PS2 release. It came out in November 2006, just 4 months before the release of the PS3 in Europe. Now yes, the PS2 had a long life and didn't get discontinued until 2013, but realistically, when this game came out, the console was already 6.5 years old. At that point, you were either looking forward to the PS3 or the Xbox 360 had been out for nearly a year. With everyone's attention drawn towards the next generation,
why these games?
Games released in this window would often see poor sales. Poor sales means fewer in circulation, means a higher price today. Point 2. Genre. This is a niche horror title set in 1930s England. Well, for starters, horror games don't tend to sell that well, particularly when they're from unknown studios. And secondly, well, I'll give them this. The setting is unique, but your average man isn't exactly clamouring to play games from the period. And again, fewer sales, less knocking about in the wild, higher price tag. Point 3. Ha! I lied! The game didn't actually get released at all! Well, in the UK anyway. It was banned over here thanks to one of our greatest industries. Controversy driven by misinformation. Thanks, tabloids! This means that PAL UK copies should be incredibly rare, because the only way to get one would have been to have got it somehow from outside the UK, or to have had a review copy sent to you. This all comes together to make Rule of Rose one of the most expensive games for the PS2. Until now, that is. As CEX inevitably get more copies in, or demand drops due to these readily available sealed copies, the price of the game and the trading value will continue to decline. It's simple supply and demand stuff. As of the recording of this, CEX sell the game for 435 quid, they trade in for cash at 252 quid, and they trade in for vouchers at 304. But that's just CEX, I hear you say. Well, whether you like it or not, in the UK they set the price for games. Since anyone can just rock up to your shop, open their app, scroll to the game they want, and go, "Yeah, but CEX sell it for this much," shops just use it as the baseline and cut that out of the conversation entirely. That does mean that if CEX pumps the price of a game, everybody pumps the price of a game. The rising tide raises all ships. But it also works the other way around. If CEX are forced to tank the price of a game because there's too many copies of it floating around, or they're not selling the copies they have, everybody else is inevitably forced to meet their baseline. I've mentioned supply a couple of times already, so how many new copies of Rule of Rose could we potentially be dealing with here? A couple hundred aren't really going to make that much of a difference, but a few thousand, and now we're talking. So I've seen speculated around that anywhere between 1 and 5,000 copies should have been done in the initial run. Now if they haven't been destroyed, they're sitting in a warehouse somewhere, just waiting to be released. And if they are, in any great number, it will affect the value of the game. Remember, the PAL UK version's value is mainly propped up by the fact it was never released, unlike in other European regions. If this was to get out in large quantities, that basically makes it as rare as the other versions, if not less rare. These are sealed. Remember, these are sealed! Have Games Park found these mystical UK versions that were never released? Honestly, I can't say for sure. But based on the number that they're shifting, and the amount of other sealed 505 games they have on their store, it seems pretty convincing to me they have something. How could Game Park have come across such a vast fortune of sealed games? Well, 505 Games is a subsidiary of Digital Bros, an Italian games publisher based in Milan, where Games Park's physical store is also located. Hang on, just gotta check this real quick. They are literally half an hour's drive from one another. I'm not trying to suggest they got them straight from their headquarters, but it doesn't take much imagination to see that they would store any unsold stock in the area. Hi, me again, Editing Room Game Gaijin here. But this time I live 36 hours into the future since my last appearance. Information is moving fast now. Firstly, an article has just been released on The Gamer that also reports on this as a potential warehouse find. A commenter says that they have spoken to the sellers of the sealed copies, but they do not mention Games Park directly, and they say they are legit as they have invoices showing that they have come straight from Digital Bros warehouse. No solid proof or confirmation is given, but this could be big, so I wanted to mention it here. Also, others have countered trying to pass them off as fake, saying Digital Bros have not publicly confirmed their legitimacy and that the seals do not have the PS2 branded strip. However, it should be noted that many late PS2 releases did not come with the branded strip. Secondly, I have found another Italian seller, not only with sealed copies of Rule of Rose, but also with a similar list of sealed 505 games. This second seller comes with a picture of the original box, clearly stating their copies of Rule of Rose destined for England. The contents, 15 of those sealed bad boys. They even have an aged quality control stamp, dated 7th of December 2006. This is 1 month after the prospected release date, so maybe this was done before the unsold copies were shelved after the game got banned? I contacted the seller for more info and they responded with the following, translated from Italian. Hi, these were old warehouse remnants of 505 games. They were in a warehouse in Europe. I'm sorry, I don't know anything else. Things are really heating up now. Anyway, back to the video. I've been a retro collector for a long time and I've seen this situation play out before. One that comes to mind would be the Japanese version of Gotcha Force on the GameCube. That used to be a real big ticket item, 8 or 9,000 yen. Then someone found a warehouse full of sealed ones. The price immediately tanked down to 4k. It's been a couple of years since then and the price has crept back up. You're now looking at around 6k, 5.5. This is just one anecdote, but it is indicative of a pattern I've seen many times before. Precedence dictates that if word gets out on this, the price will tank hard and then slowly recover over time but never reach the heights that it once had. Well, why is no one talking about this then? I mean, this is pretty big news, right? And I can't have been the first person to have discovered it. Well, those of you that watched my short will know that 7 months ago, Reddit was on it. In fact, the screenshot they use has Games Parks trying to sell 42 in one big lot. A real bouquet of rose. Ho, 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 ho. To my knowledge, it never really went much further than that. Hi, me again. So I had this whole section where I wondered why no one has been talking about this situation, and then everybody started talking about it. I even put on a little tinfoil hat and tried to say people were being quiet due to market manipulation, but I didn't believe that. The conspiracy angle is market manipulation. Buy them on the sly and keep the value high, then trickle them out into the market without raising any suspicion. And then it turned out to be true. A number of Facebook groups have been buying copies in and trading them to CEX for months, as some kind of infinite money glitch. CEX appears to have cottoned on now, hence the lowered trade-in prices that I mentioned earlier, but the fact that so many of my predictions that I made in this video have come true is mental. Okay, unless somehow even more news comes out before I finish this bleeding video, you shouldn't hear from me again. So, back to me after I remove the conspiracy hat. I do know one thing though. If the price on this game goes down, a lot of collectors will be out of pocket. Anyone out there that paid 500 to 600 quid for this bad boy just watched 66% of the value go up in smoke. And that's just right now. I personally think it could go even lower, down as far as 150, with 100 for opened copies. Will it stay there for long? Probably not. But I highly doubt it'll go back to where it is now, 500-600 quid. And yes, it does suck for those people, but as collectors, these are the risks we take when we buy rare and expensive games. We're all just one remaster away from remortgaging our homes. So before too many people get stung paying the current market value of around 450 or 500 quid, I'm making it my mission to shout this out from the rooftops and get the word out. This does mean I'm potentially putting myself out of pocket, but I don't really care. I'm a 35-year-old millennial who doesn't have a house to remortgage anyway. You can't hurt me more than society already has. Joking aside, when my copy does arrive, I will be opening it because I believe games are meant to be played. That's always been my philosophy, and some hidden value in a potential sealed copy of RuleOfRose is not going to change that. When games get too expensive, people can't afford to play them, and that's a real shame. I don't care if the value of my collection goes to 0 tomorrow. If it means more people can get involved in this hobby, then it's 100% worth it. Now, some of you out there will think I'm stupid for feeling this way, but I love this hobby, retro gaming and collecting, because I get enjoyment out of sharing moments held within these games with other people. I'm not here in hope that my copy of Crows on the Sega Saturn will gain so much value in a couple of years that I can just retire. And I'd like to think that my Twitch streams and my other video content reflects that. Right now, go out there and spread the word. The days of RuleOfRose being this expensive are numbered. If you happen to know anyone that's currently looking for a copy of the game, make sure to steer them away from anything at current market value of 450 to 500 quid, because it's really not going to be worth that for much longer. And if we work together, we can bring down the price even lower, making it more affordable for everybody. Right, I just want to remind everybody that I haven't been able to confirm with my own two hands yet that these are in fact legitimate. I've just done a lot of research and it looks like they are. It looks a high likelihood that they are, but my copy is still in the post. When it does arrive though, make sure to keep an eye on the channel, because I'll do an update video showing it off and we can check it out together. Man, I hope I haven't been scammed. Hi everyone, Credits Game Gaijin here. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this unexpectedly deep dive into a rather odd situation. Sorry for interrupting so much from the editing room, but after my short released and I filmed this video, new information started cropping up thick and fast. I'm now a firm believer that these are legit. I have even had someone comment on my short stating that they ordered one from the same seller as me and their copy looks great. We won't know for sure though until mine arrives. Thanks to my mate Pigeonman89 for helping with the video. When I had to stop researching to actually get the video made, they kept feeding me new info as and when it happened. As I alluded to in the video, I stream on Twitch 3 times a week, Tuesdays and Fridays at 8 PM GMT and Sundays at 4 PM GMT. I try to introduce as many weird and wacky retro games as I can. That's twitch.tv/GameGaijin. Links in the description, so fill your boots. Also make sure to check out my VODs channel, where all my stream clips can be found. Sub and all that good stuff if you haven't already, and until next time, ta-ra ta-ra, ta-ra. I'm gonna play that shit into the ground.